If you would like to support the podcast and get some extra content while you're there, head on over to patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast and sign up. From the rewatch to the Q&A, we will have loads of content every week. So sign up, patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast. And now, here's the podcast. Welcome everybody. It's episode 363 of the Severe MMA podcast. My name is Sean Sheehan, aka the Pod God, and today we will be talking. Do you know what we'll be talking about? A bit of MMA judging. It won't be like us, but we will be talking about that to start off today's podcast. We'll be talking Bellator, obviously, UFC. There's a big Eagle FC card next week as well, and we'll be looking at all things MMA, whatever comes up. I am joined, obviously, today by the Mr. McDonald of Irish MMA Media, Graham McDonald. And
Mr. McDonald?
Yeah.
Is that Ronald or who's it?
I don't know. I don't know where that came from. I had one actually prepared for you. What was I going to call you? Oh, I can't remember, but
Shimikas.
Don't mind that stuff. We won't get into that. Anyway, so yeah, we'll be talking about all of that, but we must tell you first, the summer is here, the sun is shining, the shirts are off, and your balls are smooth. Myself and Graham were both out for barbecues today. Well, I was anyway. Graham, you were around the place, I know, drinking a few pints and stuff anyway. And Manscaped are here to help both of us and make sure those beach balls are as smooth as the Floridian or even the Dublin sand. In summer, you want to kill some cold beers and barbecues, as we did. Not kill the vibe with pubes peeking out of your swim trunks. That's why Manscaped has their Performance Package 4.0 to keep the party in your pants looking crisp and refreshing all summer long. Dive head first into the summer by joining 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get hot guy summer going by going to manscaped.com and using the promo code SevereMMA for 20% off plus free shipping. While you're there, get the Performance Package 4.0. You'll have a load of stuff inside now. Lawnmower 4.0. Yeah, indeed. I got it right, Johnny. Well done. The Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. Easy for me to say. The Crop Preserver ball deodorant and Reviver toner, as well as the Boxer briefs and the Shed travel bag. That Lawnmower 4.0, it's unbelievable, lads. I'm telling you, 7,000 RPM motor, new multi-function on and off switch, which can engage travel lock, and it gives you the ability to turn on the 4,000K LED spotlight when you need a bit of a more precise shave. Did I mention it's waterproof? So you can go into the lake and do it. Please don't do it in the pool, but you can do it in the lake if you want to, if you're far away from people. Your downstairs weeds are taken care of. Why not look after the rest of it with liquid formulations before heading outside? Use a Crop Preserver ball deodorant to stay cool in the heat. After long days mowing the grass, get your crotch back to tip-top shape with the Crop Reviver. To top it all off, the boxers and the Shed travel bag, you can put them on into it, and that'll be perfect, sure, you know yourself. Want to take your grooming even further? Look at Manscaped's Shears 2.0. Send me out that Manscaped. I'm still waiting for it. I want one of them. There's everything you need to look pristine with your nails, cutter, tweezers, grooming scissors, the whole shebang, lads. With the Performance Package, your balls will be ready to impress, but make sure you cover the rest with the Shears 2.0 and you'll be ready to perform from head to toe. So get 20% off at free shipping over at manscaped.com. Use the code SevereMMA. That's 20% off of free shipping at manscaped.com. This is the summer to turn your package into the full package with our friends over at Manscaped. Right, Graham? Let's talk about Bellator, and let's talk about MVP versus Logan Storley. In my mind, the most controversial decision we've had in a long time. There are lots of decisions which are debated afterwards, and, you know, some people get it right, some people get it wrong, some people have some arguments. Like, a lot of the fights, I think some people come at it from like a genuine point of view and say it's 10-9 fighter A, 10-9 fighter B, and there's a lot of like ungenuine people as well, kind of saying robbery all over the place, and we get into those debates all the time, but a lot of the time it's like either a misunderstanding of the criteria why people are disagreeing, or people just think, look, I thought this shot was harder than this shot, I thought whatever was better than whatever, and I think this person won and the other person think this person won, and that's natural. That's going to happen in mixed martial arts. And we look at the rounds week in, week out through the judging criteria. And I think, I don't know if you would agree with me, Graham, but I have been saying it for a long time that there are very few very bad decisions. There are very few bad decisions even. There are very few decisions that I couldn't understand. Now, there are lots of decisions I disagree with, but very few I can't understand.
Even last week, I disagreed with the decision. I said, I had it actually 4 rounds for Rose, I believe, but she couldn't have any complaints because the rounds were that close. It came down to how much impact or how much you consider a strike compared to another strike. That's how close it was. But this fight, I think, was the MVP Storley fight was different. I think MVP got robbed. I know people don't like when you say the robbery word and all that stuff. Maybe it was thrown around too much in the past, and as you said, it's been thrown around a lot, like on social media and stuff like that. But I do think that Storley he didn't mount any impactful strikes at all in the whole first 4 rounds anyway. And I think in the second round maybe there was a couple of small elbows he landed, but Venom Page was landing small, nothing shots as well. Both were landing nothing shots. I think Page was actually landing more nothing shots when he was up against the fence. I don't say it lightly anymore. Maybe I did in the past. You probably go back and look at the podcast. I can't really remember, but I haven't said it in a long time. But I do think this was a really, really bad decision.
Sorry, slight technical difficulties there, but we're back again. I tend to agree with you, Graham. I don't think there's anyone in the media as favourable to judges as me. Now, and I think that gives me the right to
called you the Peter Walton of them.
Was it me? I thought that was someone else you were calling that. Fair enough.
I was calling you that, obviously.
Okay, I thought it might have been someone else. But look, I don't like the word robbery, because robbery has the connotation that there's someone getting paid off, or there's someone favouring someone unfairly or something, or it's a hometown decision.
I don't mean that.
I know you don't mean that, but that's the connotation around. Now, if I say that word robbery here, I do not mean that whatsoever. I mean it's a bad decision, and one that I can't fathom in my brain why someone scored it that way via the criteria for one person, right? So let's get that out of the way first. There's no one getting paid off, or if you think that's a question in your head, I would take that completely out of it, because the 3 guys judging this fight are 3 very good judges and 3 stand-up guys, as much as I know them. One was David Leatherby, who gave it to MVP. He is a British judge who's been coming up with, we mentioned Ben Cartledge a lot, they've kind of come up together. He's one of the best judges in the world. He's been judging on Cage Warriors for years and years and years, and he should be in the spot. Brian Miner, I've mentioned him before. To me, he's one of the top 5 judges on planet Earth right now. I think he's that good. I think he's absolutely brilliant, and a brilliant referee as well. And then Michael Bell as well, who's probably in the top 10 judges in the world, if not the top 5 as well. A very, very good judge. So look, I would disagree with him. As I said last night on Twitter, and I explained my scoring of the fight in a second now. As I said last night on Twitter, all of those lads have put in great cards before, and will continue to do it. So, but still, you have to call this for what it is. Now, let's get into the fight altogether. And this is, look, it is a great example, or would have been a great example, of how fights should be scored in mixed martial arts these days. Because we preach all the time, and the reason why I'm kind of so heated about this is because the words we preach all the time, and the words the judges try to preach and the commissions try to preach about impactful striking and impactful grappling being the first criterion, as someone pointed out to me. It's not criteria is double, criterion is one, isn't that it? Being the first range of criterion, or the first criterion, that should score first. And if that's even, obviously we know, as we talked about last week, we go to the effective aggressiveness and cage control. And now the big issue for people here, I think, is what effective grappling is. And having spoken to judges, many different judges, I think most of them would agree, and most of them that I've spoken to have said to me that effective grappling is not just taking a guy down, unless it's a big high amplitude takedown which causes damage, which hurts someone, or not even hurt someone, just it's a big slam or something like that. That obviously does score. But effective grappling is not just taking someone down and holding someone down. Effective grappling is getting into a position where you're going towards the end of the fight. Effective grappling is going for submissions. Effective grappling is going almost breaking a lad's arm. Effective grappling is getting a lad and threatening with submissions. Even if you don't get them necessarily, still effective. There are scores higher than just holding someone there. But you have to be moving. You have to be going forward. Changing positions is not effective grappling. Because why would you score for someone just changing positions? Like if MVP changes from southpaw to orthodox, is that effective striking? Should he score from that? What's the difference between that and you changing from, half guard on one side to half guard on the other side, or to side control? Like, to me, I think half guard is a better position than side control, but a lot of people will probably disagree with that. But why should you score? And you shouldn't. You don't, and you don't via the criteria, right? So that's the first thing we need to lay out here as a fact of the judging criteria, that effective grappling is not just controlling a position. Ground control does not score in the first criterion of effective striking and effective grappling. If there was 0 strikes landed, if there was 0 aggression, then controlling the cage would count in the third criterion, and you can win by cage control. That does not happen. We spoke about it last week. If you haven't heard that podcast, please go and listen to it. When there are strikes landed, even if it's only 1 or 2, even if it's 10, even if it's 40, they do not go to that. They decide between the strikes. If there's no strikes in a round and 2 submission attempts, 1 for each person, they decide who had the better submission attempt, who either caused more damage or was going towards the finish, closer to the finish, and they will give the round based on that effective grappling. That is how MMA is scored, and that is how MMA should be scored, right? And to me, that's not how this fight was scored. Because for the first 4 rounds, now the second round, it was the second round, wasn't it, where Logan Storley landed maybe 10 to 15, maybe a little bit longer, seconds of elbows, maybe 2 or 3 elbows and some shots on top, which were definitely effective striking. So I can see a judge seeing that after the position that he had earned himself on the ground.
There wasn't much in there, in my opinion.
One second, but in quote marks, the advantageous position he had earned, he did something with it by getting shots in that round. And that's me. I didn't score that round.
But he was eating shots as well in those positions. If he, I don't know. Like, it's a real stretch to...
Exactly, it's a stretch.
To give him that round, I think.
Yeah, I agree as well. It's a stretch. But at least he did something in that position, in that advantageous position, I'll say it again with quotation marks, to earn himself points, to earn himself something that he can score with. But find me another place in the first 4 rounds where he did that anywhere. Now, when I say anywhere, let's go through it second by second for those 20 minutes and find me anywhere apart from that where he had effective striking or effective grappling. There was none. And he won the fight in those rounds by 2 of the judges' scorecards. Awful. I really think that's... And now, I respect the 2 judges. Let me say that again, and I don't know what happened. But you cannot win a fight, or you should not win a fight by just holding someone there and having no effective striking and no effective grappling. And what came from the other side of it, maybe people will say here, but MVP did nothing either. MVP did something. In the first round, he was landing little shot after little shot after little shot as Logan Storley was pushing him against the cage. He landed one relatively big shot in this fight anyway at the start of the round. That was 1,000,000 times more than anything Logan Storley did. How anyone could score that round for Logan Storley is beyond me. Didn't land 1 shot, had no effective grappling in it whatsoever. The second round we just discussed, MVP landed a few shots again early. I thought what he landed early, and it was actually a longer part in the stand-up than in the first round, and MVP landed a couple of good shots. If you want to give that round to Logan Storley, I can understand it. The third round again,
I don't know.
I can understand it. I don't agree with it. I absolutely don't agree with it. And in the other round, then it was the exact same as the first round. It was even less landed by Logan Storley. I hope I'm not mixing up. It was the second round, wasn't it, where Storley scored it? People know anyway. The round where he scored the last 10 seconds is the one where I think it could have been scored the other way. And the other of the first 3 rounds, he did nothing again. Didn't land any strikes. Did absolutely nothing. The 4th round in, I think all three judges gave the 4th round to MVP, if I'm not mistaken. I'll pull up the scorecard in a second. That one was just absolutely clear and obvious. He had a good bit of time on the feet. Storley took him down again to absolutely nothing. And then in the 5th round, now the 5th round was an interesting round because Storley did exactly what he needed to do to win that round and showed exactly what he didn't do to win the first 4 rounds, in my opinion. Like, he got the fight to the ground and he landed strike after strike after strike. Now, not that many strikes. It wasn't near a 10-8 or anything like that, but he landed enough strikes to win that round on the ground. If he'd done that in all 4 of the other rounds, this would have been 50-45. No one would have been saying anything, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. The problem is, though, he didn't. And MVP landed the strikes that he landed in the 5th in rounds 1, 2, 3, and 4. Maybe not as good, maybe not as impactful, but he landed some strikes. He landed something. He landed all of the literally all of the damage. All of the
I actually thought he had some pretty good strikes and pretty impactful strikes, and like that Storley did well to kind of shake them off and take them, and was kind of, you could see that they affected him a couple of times, I thought. But like, yeah, I think, you know, John McCarthy on the commentary might have influenced a few fans, but for the judges, I don't think there's much excuse for this fight. It's just a really bad decision. But yeah, John McCarthy, who's supposed to, obviously a former ref involved in the rules making, all that stuff, you'd expect him to know better, but he doesn't seem to. And the reaction on Twitter and things like that, 99% of fighters don't seem to understand the rules. They seem to be kind of along the same lines of thinking as Big John McCarthy.
Which I don't actually mind, to be honest, because we get it every week. The big problem here, though, is to the judges, which saddened me. And look, if it was 2 local schlubs, not from the UK, because local UK judges, but like, let's say last year when it was Gleison Tebow against Rory McDonald, and it was the robbery of last year. It was Eric Cologne gave it the right way, and then there was 2 locals judging who gave it the wrong way. If that had happened here, I could say, look, they fucked up. They put a guy who had done, 2 Cage Warriors cards and Obama in there, and he hadn't done it in 4 years, and he hadn't a clue what he was doing. We can understand it. I just can't understand it this way. And that to me is the most disappointing part, because you tell the people all the time, this is how fights should be scored via what's written. Not my opinion, not your opinion, Graham, not the opinion of anyone, apart from what's written down and what should be factual.
And especially when it's obvious, this was so obvious. And Michael Bell gave 4 rounds to Storley, only gave the 4th round to MVP. It's bizarre. Crazy, mad.
That first round, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how you could give it to Storley. He did nothing. Absolutely and utterly not. And if you're listening to this, right, and you're saying,
to be honest, in my opinion, it's not possible to give him any of the first 4 rounds. Not even just the first round, but the 4 of them, I don't know what's going on there, to be honest. It's just a bad day at the office, or I don't know what's going on there, but I fully expected, even though on Twitter and John McCarthy and all that, I fully expected MVP. I haven't been that shocked by a decision in a long time.
Yeah. I honestly, I can't remember the last time I was shocked. And people talking about Arlovsky and Collier last week. You look at my tweet before that result was read out. I said, look, I have it for Collier, but I feel like a 29-28 Arlovsky here could happen. And then it did happen, And people are calling that a robbery. And it's not. And the reason why we are so maybe apoplectic about this is because it's one of those ones, right, where to the naked eye, if it's just some casual coming in watching this fight, it doesn't look like a bad decision, or it doesn't look like an important decision. But I think people who have been following the judging scene, if you want to put it that way, and following what way fights are judged, I think this is a real setback for judging. I really do. To score a fight like this way is everything that people say is wrong with judging, and that's sad. That is sad to see, honestly. And I don't care if it's MVP or Storley. I like both guys. Honestly, I'm a big fan of both. I was talking to Ian Gary a while back about Logan Storley, and you go and listen to that interview. I said I was a big fan of him, and I have a picture of MVP up on my wall behind me. I like both these guys an awful lot. I said on the betting show last week, I thought Storley would win, and it's not as if I have no horse in the race here, really, to either way.
I picked MVP to win, but I've picked a million fighters to win who haven't won. It doesn't affect me in terms of I'm not on tilt or whatever, as they say in poker afterwards. The second round with the elbows, maybe the elbows look bigger from cage side. Maybe, yeah, okay, that round, second round, okay, that's understandable. they all seem to give that round to Storley, I believe. So let's say that round, but the first, the third, and the fourth, I think, as you said, it's with how like kind of taking out opinion, or how the rules are written to kind of take away opinion these days about, like, you know, grappling. In the olden days, that would have been Storley's fight. Everybody would have, you know, the way Cormier talks about it, oh, he stole around with that takedown or whatever, that would have been the case. But that's so many years ago. Like, and I can't even remember the last time we both agreed that something was a robbery, or either of us said it was a robbery. You go back like through podcasts, and we always say what we think, and we say things that are wrong and whatever all the time, and all that stuff. But we literally, I can't remember the last time we said there was a robbery.
I didn't even say the Rory McDonald Gleason TV one last year was a robbery. I went back and watched that, and I was like, look, there are certain ways. I didn't agree with it, but I was like, there are certain ways you could have scored it a little bit differently. It was one I could kind of half understand. This one, I really, really can't. And now we must say as well, look, and to me, to go full Peter Walton here, it's a tough job for the judges. It's a really tough job, and the pressure of a world title fight in someone's backyard.
But as you said, these guys are experienced. It's not like this is Michael Bell and Brian Miner. You know what I mean? This is, as you said, it's not two guys who have been out of the game for a while or haven't been in a big show before. Maybe got influenced by the crowd or something like that. You know, it's not. Or I don't know. I
was reminded about something that you said. I was talking to someone about this result, and you know, you always said a phrase to me: "How can the referee give in soccer? How can the referee give a free when the incident never happened?" You know, if someone like falls over and they say, "Oh, foul," and no one ever touched him. How can you give these
if you
rounds?
Didn't see it, you can't give it. Like, you know what I mean?
How can you give these rounds to Logan Storley when he did nothing offensive? Nothing. Like NOTHING. Nothing, you know, and that's the baffling part to me. But anyway, we probably talked like 15 minutes about just the judging here, so we're just going back and forth. All in all, this was a terrible fight. I bet you, like, the judges were there and they're probably like saying, all three of them to themselves, this is a fucking nightmare. Why am I on this fight? Please get me out of here. But yeah, it was Storley holding MVP down. Not even holding him down,
holding him against the fence. Yeah.
The referee, Jacob Mantello, he had actually one great card on the night in the judging, but he should have stood this up time after time after time. And I know I've been calling for more stand-ups, but this was a great example of why there should be. He just did nothing.
Yeah, he said to him, you got to improve your position, you got to move. But it's like, no, you don't. You got to actually land some impact. You got to do something more. Not like, and it's just, he
landed no impact and didn't improve.
And he got real close a couple of times.
You're
like, he got real close a couple of times, and I'm not really a big fan of the breakups. But when a guy has got his hands clasped around somebody's waist for, like, you know, 15 of 25 minutes, you know, maybe
MVP was bad as well, because MVP's
performance, like, you know, he should have probably, you know, not thrown that knee in the fifth that ended up kind of getting him in a bad position. And there's a couple other times where he probably could have played it safer, but that's his style. You know, he's used that flair and that kind of unpredictability and that kind of, like, you know, risk-taking, striking to amazing effect, and kind of got him where he is. And, you know, it's hard to say. In a way, you could say, you know, on the scorecards, he needed to make something happen. So the knee was kind of like, you know, it turned out was probably a good decision, even though, in my opinion, you know, he was well ahead at the time. But yeah, for MVP, obviously it's a devastating loss for him, but I think, you know, most people agree, I think, that MVP won that. And, you know, for him, it's kind of unfortunate because he stepped up against a guy who's actually a really kind of difficult opponent and a top guy who doesn't really have the name value, and people might look at that who aren't kind of dialed into the scene as much and think, oh, he lost to some nobody, and they won't know that it was like a robbery and it was an actually tough guy, even though he's not really kind of
double whammy, really,
bringing much name value. Yeah, it's a bad night for MVP, an unfortunate night.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes as well, even though it was a bad performance, and it's funny that it came the week after Carla Esparza versus Rose Namajunas, and also have two people ever done less to win titles than Logan Storley and Carla Esparza. Like two titles in a row won, and hardly a punch was landed for 9 rounds anyway. Okay, in the 5th round, Storley did land a couple. Absolute madness, but.
It's a new way to win. That's how you win belts. You do nothing and you hope the judges give you the decision.
That might be bad. But like Rose Namajunas talked last week about how she was game planning really well and she thought she was fighting to a game plan to win that way. Like if MVP's game plan was not to get on his back and land strikes on the feet when he got there, well, do you know, that game plan actually worked pretty well because he should have won 4 of those 5 rounds, to be honest. If we're being honest, like he didn't get dominated against the cage in any way, shape, or form.
He ate no damage.
Whatsoever. Didn't take a punch for 4 rounds, apart from 5 or 10 seconds at the end of 1 round. Didn't get near getting submitted. Wasn't really even taken down, to be honest, much. He was pushed against the fence.
When he was, he'd scoot back to the fence. Yeah,
so it's. Like if you look at that and say, oh, okay, you don't score defense, but there was no question who scored more offensively. Like it wasn't as if Michael Van Page was defending all fight and everything. It was.
If Logan had come out and just taken him down straight away and held him against the cage like he did without any strikes,
yes,
yeah, grand,
no
fair
problem.
enough.
Yeah,
but that's not what happened. Like there was at least. I don't know, I can't remember exactly, 45 seconds a minute or up to 2.5, 3 minutes on the feet in the various rounds where MVP was like completely dominating. So yeah, it's just a baffling decision.
Yeah, this is our robbery of the year sorted anyway, because I don't think we will have another robbery this year because judging is so good and we haven't had one so far. We're 5 months into the year. Not for me, there has been no robbery until this. And this is the first robbery I can remember in a long time. I hope it's not a fight that judges see and they think, well, this is the way to judge fights. I'd love this fight to be brought up and all 4 rounds be watched in a judging seminar and people who are in the know to explain and tell all of the judges why this should be judged. Didn't
you say before that the judges kind of have a review after?
Yeah, I was on. They do, yeah, after the fight. Yeah, I have. I probably for a few different reasons. I haven't heard about the review after this event, but I was on the call the other day for the California Athletic Commission with the judges going through different rounds, and it was very, very good. It was funny. There was like a few different trainers and things on talking about it and just like talking absolute codswallop. And then Sal D'Amato actually came on and he was brilliant. You know, people talk shit about Sal D'Amato. That guy is fantastic. He's a really intelligent guy, really smart, a great mind for judging and for mixed martial arts, and it can explain things really well as well. And if anyone here is in media or anything or a fighter, could get onto those calls. They happen maybe once every 6 weeks, once every month or 2 months maybe even, and they're invaluable. They're brilliant. Actually, the UK new commission did one a couple of weeks ago as well, and I fucking missed it, but I'll be on the next one if they go on as well. So it's great that they're doing things like that, and you know, we need more of them. And the top judges are absolutely great, and if they can educate kind of the ones on the way up or the local judges, that's absolutely fantastic. And this is a great fight to educate judges, I think, after and to go through with a fine-tooth comb, and I hope that's done. Anyway, let's move on. Look, congratulations to Logan Storley. He is the champion. He'll probably fight and rematch Amasov now that was a gargantuan battle, that first fight. You know, he might have been unlucky a little bit in that fight as well with that result, because that was a very, very close fight. That was a way harder fight to score, to be honest. It was just like all wrestling, and it was a fun fight in terms of just a wrestling and grappling battle. If you like that sort of thing. So I think that's what we'll have again, and hopefully Amasov is good and can get back fighting in MMA instead of fighting in a war very, very soon, and we can see him back there.
Yeah, tough night for the president of the Judges Union, Sean Sheehan.
Indeed.
So, yeah.
Indeed, no further questions at this time. Fabian Edwards, Graham, one of your guy since he was an amateur, finally fulfilled his potential in a certain way. Great performance from Fabian, wasn't it?
You know, we kind of talked about it before about him kind of needing to make something happen and not waiting, and it's kind of been a problem where he's kind of waited for an opening and sometimes it's not there and he ends up losing the decision. I was kind of saying on the podcast that I hope he doesn't do that again, and he didn't. You know, he went out there and he, you know, obviously Machida's a legend and all that stuff. Some guys go in there and kind of have too much respect for them, and that could have been a problem. But he definitely kind of looks to have come out with a coming of age performance. Like, you know, it's hard to know exactly where Machida's at now. You know, he's getting on quite significantly, and you know, he's not really a wrestler that's caused problems and losses for Fabian in the past. You know, the only loss I think he actually had was the Vanderfort one, but that's beside the point anyway. But yeah, I think, you know, we've talked about it for years. As you mentioned, we've been talking about this guy since he was an amateur, and he definitely has like all the tools in terms of striking and ability inside the cage, but it's just about implementing the right game plan and letting his shots go, and kind of being a bit more offensive than he has been recently. And I mentioned on the podcast before that maybe it was that he was able to, you know, just wait for his opponents to make a mistake and capitalize and get a nice highlight finish as he was coming up. But as the opponents get more difficult and you come up against guys who are trying to wrestle you and hold you down and basically trying to nullify your game because they know you have all these tools, and he's gonna have to prove it against a wrestler again. But I think this will give him confidence, and kind of it's important that he didn't go out there and lose again. You know, even though there's a lot of controversy around that split decision that he had for his first loss, but the Shipman fight before that wasn't great either. So I think this was a very important win, and you know, I'm kind of on the verge of saying it's a coming of age performance, but I think he has to kind of go out there against a hard-nosed wrestler and do it again. But he definitely has all the tools, and you know, he's a very exciting guy when he's on form, and hopefully this is a turning point for him.
I kind of would tend to disagree with you that it's a wrestler issue. I think the bigger issue for Fabian is actually letting his hands go, and it's kind of disguising itself maybe as a wrestler issue because they're getting more of an opportunity to get in on him because he's not throwing the amount of shots he should to make him pay to stop them wrestling, you know? And sometimes those things can be mixed up, you know, and they really, really can. We've seen strikers throughout the years come in. Jose Aldo is the perfect example. He threw the strikes to stop the wrestling from happening before the wrestling even started. And Fabian wasn't doing that, and he hasn't been doing that. But this fight, okay, maybe because Machida isn't a wrestler, you know, which game comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's hard to know, I suppose. But if Fabian can do what he did in this, and he had no fear whatsoever coming into this fight. You know, he said afterwards, they asked him, what did it feel like fighting a legend? He was like, I'm a legend too. And it's like, that's the fucking attitude that Fabian Edwards needs. He needs to go out there and say and think he is the best middleweight in the world, no matter who's standing across the cage from him, and go for it. Because he has good takedown defense. He can stop takedowns. He's, you know, Leon Edwards is a very good wrestler, and he trains with, obviously, his brother all the time. Tom Breeze is a very good wrestler, brilliant on the ground. He's in his gym training with him all the time. He can do it. I just feel like Fabian Edwards, he lacks belief a little bit when he has no reason to. This guy is brilliant. He is do you know, he leads, I don't know, Graham, if you know.
Maybe he's doing too many rounds with Leon, and Leon's fucking stifling him too much. Maybe, yeah. That could be it. That could be it. It feels like, do you know, I don't know if you've heard of her, Caroline Curran, right? She's like the mind coach for the Limerick Hurlers and for Munster. I think she was with Dublin and Tyrone, and they all become like champions when she goes and works with them. Munster champions?
Well, she's only been working with them for a year. Give it time. But employ her. Get the number off of fucking JP McManus for her. Bring her over to.
Okay, get the Leinster guy. Get the Leinster guy in.
Don't mind that. But that's that. You know, that's what he needs. And I honestly, I tweeted it last night and I said it last week. Fabian Edwards is one of the best middleweights in the world. If he can just get out of his way a little bit and believe in himself a little bit more. And do you know what? It's very rarely a problem we see in mixed martial arts, because sometimes these fucking guys believe in themselves too much, you know, and they're like, I'm a world champion, I'm this, I'm that. And then they go in there and they're like, well, you got fucking knocked out by, a 14-4 guy because you didn't take him seriously because you're 4-0 and you thought you were brilliant, you know? That can fucking happen. And, I don't know. I think the world of Fabian. I think he's brilliant, and hopefully he can kick on from this. This could be it. Like beating Lyoto Machida. Even we can talk about Lyoto at this time if is his life and all. But as I just said there, I think it's a mental thing more than a physical thing. He has all the physical abilities. If this beating Lyoto Machida, the former champ, can bring you to that next mental stage where you believe in yourself, then it's worth more than any win he'll ever have. And we, as you said, Graham, we will see that over the next couple of fights, and I'm looking forward to seeing where he goes. Paul Daley then, what a right hook from El. You know, we're all expecting the left hook, I suppose. Do you know what though? I was expecting Windle.
The left hook was kind of in there as well.
It was definitely thrown in there. I was backing Windle Giacomo to win this fight. He's a very good fighter, and you know, in the first
he's looking good.
9 minutes, he was showing that he was taking him down. A very good wrestler. He didn't show his striking as much as he has in previous fights. And honestly, I think Windle coming back in there. I'd actually like to see Windle against MVP maybe next, but people probably give out about that. I think that'd actually be a good fight. But he was doing well and he was dominating the fight. And I look in here, it went 9 minutes and 9 seconds. And he was probably dominating it for 8 minutes 57 seconds ish or something like that. And then Daley just started throwing bombs when he got back to the feed. And 2, 3, maybe 4 of them landed, and the last one was the last punch. Maybe Paul Daley will ever land, probably not.
Definitely not.
And it knocked Giacomo out. And what a moment though. What a fucking moment in front of the London crowd. I know he's from Nottingham, but he's a Brit through, and a beautiful punch and a beautiful knockout.
In fairness, like the fake retirement does add a bit of to it. In fairness,
every Irish. If I was fucking Kieran Clark, I'd like before my next fight in Dublin, I'd be like, I'm retired after this. You're 5-0, man. Why are you not retire? I am. I'm going to retire. Just do it every time. Richard Kiley did it at fucking 3-1.
I think it has to be more believable than Richard Kiley's like fucking 4 fights deep and he's fucking retired.
Great man.
And then he's like on the podcast like a day later being like, well, like, you know yourself.
I love Richard. Richard needs to come back. Jeez, get Richard back on one of these cards coming up here. It'd be great. But Paul Daley, a legend. I feel weird always. People probably going to come on this week on podcast and talk about Paul Daley and how much of a legend he was and his whole career and everything. I just can't believe that he's not going to fight again, especially after, he didn't necessarily look bad when he was getting beaten in the first 9 minutes of the fight, and he looked great in the finish, so Paul Daley's by no means shot or anything like that. He can still have great fights in Bellator. He's probably going to beat
his losses are Jason Jackson, MVP, John Fitch, Rory McDonald, Douglas Lima, going back to 2013, you know what I mean? Like, he's not in there beating the best guys in the world, but he's beaten Lorenzo Larkin, Saeed Awad, some decent guys, Eric Silva, maybe not the Eric Silva of chiseled statue UFC days, but some good wins. Brennan Ward, he's fought some really good guys, and obviously he's been around a long time. He's got some 44, what is it? How many wins did he have? 44 wins and 18 losses. Yeah. He's been around a long time. He's in the UFC. He's been everywhere, and I'm kind of reluctant to go into the Paul Daley kind of career when I'm 99.9% sure he'll be fighting again in 6 to 9 months.
If he's still retired at Christmas, we'll do a Christmas special Paul Daley career retrospective. We'll come back and we'll do it then. The rest of the card in, Simon Beyond got a bit of a shock win over Luke Traynor. Luke Traynor was winning the first round well. Could it have been a 10-8? I don't know. Could the second round have been a 10-8 for Beyond? Maybe. And then Beyond won the third as well. So, I think a draw isn't necessarily the worst card in the world there. I also think 29-28 Beyond isn't the worst card in the world. I think 29-27 Beyond isn't the worst card in the world. And I think 28-27 Bayong is also not a bad card, so you could have had a lot there. I think, was it 3 29-28 across the board? I don't know, I don't have it up here in front of me, but he won the decision anyway, and it's a setback for Luke Traynor, at 5-1. Looked great in that first round, but, Jakey was on with me in the week on Hot Topic, and he was kind of saying, geez, this was a bizarre fight to make. And it was good matchmaking if we're being honest in terms of fighter A versus fighter B, but in terms of pushing an up and coming star like Luke Traynor as he could have been, I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. I can't complain too much when it's an even fight and one guy makes a great comeback and stuff, so I'm not going to give out too much about it. But as
you mentioned, Ben Cartlidge gave 10-8 in the first round. Letterby gave 10-8 the other way in the second round, and Cartilage gave 10-8 in the second round as well. So yeah. So Ben had a 28-27, did he? 28-27. Letterby had a 29-27, and Brian Minor had a 29-28.
Yeah, that's funny. So like, yeah, what I said there was pretty true. So Sean knows. Anyway, Daniel Weichel knocked out Robert Whiteford. Everyone, I feel like, just says Robert Whittaker whenever Robert Whiteford's name comes up.
That's just you, though.
Robert Whittaker. There was some website had it the other day as well. But anyway, beautiful uppercut, and a right hook came after it. A massive knockout for Weichel after his loss to Pedro Carvalho. There, maybe Pedro versus Whiteford might be the next fight. Maybe that makes sense considering.
Maybe that would have made sense the last time.
Exactly. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Anyway, we won't get into that again like we did last week. Alina Kalinidou got a very good comeback win there against Kate Jackson in the second round. Lovely TKO on punches. Oliver Inkamp got a buggy choke.
Buggy choke.
Yeah. I haven't seen one of them in a while. Yeah. But very good. Andrew McGahan will be delighted with that one over Mark Liminger, who was winning that fight up until then.
Hashtag jiu-jitsu doesn't work.
Yeah, Alfie Davis, it doesn't. Alfie Davis but Oliver Inkamp was training with Steven Seagal, so Aikido works. There you go. Alfie Davis and
have you not
Tim
seen Hard to Kill? Come on.
Indeed. Andrew Fisher won. Rosinski won and Pinko won, but Charlie Ward, Graham, he won 30-25 on my card. One judge had him 30-25, two judges had it 30-27. The two judges had, so he won a unanimous decision. Great comeback win here. From injury win for Charlie Ward. He dominated the whole fight apart from when Alan Carlos landed one big shot at the end of the first. I still gave him the first, to be honest, and I gave him a 10-8 in the second, 10-8 in the third, because he just took him down, bloodied him up and fucking destroyed him. So look, an easier matchup for Charlie, I suppose you would have to say that, but he dispatched him as well. You know, we've seen a lot of easy matchups for people recently and haven't done a great job of it, but Charlie did a fantastic job of it and absolutely destroyed Alan Carlos here, Graham. Impressive stuff. Yeah,
it was really good from Charlie. Obviously, you mentioned the kind of getting tagged, but we've seen Charlie come through that before. He nearly even likes that, you know. If he came into a fight and he hadn't been hit, he'd probably be disappointed as the kind of guy Charlie is. But he put a lot of damage on his opponent. We mentioned before his opponent's coming off a big layoff, and maybe he'll be thinking he shouldn't have come back after that. Some very hard shots, and Charlie, maybe it was a bit of a strange matchup. Maybe like he should be more on the verge of fighting a ranked contender than a guy coming back from a long layoff and years out of the game. Maybe he's been training the whole time and getting ready for fights and they've fallen apart. I don't really know, but it's a big ass to come in there, and he had no answers for Charlie. Really bar that kind of moment, and another good win for Charlie, and hopefully they'll give him a kind of a named opponent or a ranked or close to ranked at least opponent next.
Do you want my name for Dublin? Lyoto Machida.
Oof. Yeah.
Why not? Let's do it. Let's have some fun.
It'll probably be a pretty big fight. It'll probably get hyped over here. It'll have a lot of attention, and obviously the crowd will be massively into it by the time it can't come around. Machida's obviously a legend, and the Irish fans obviously are going to support their own, but they all have a lot of respect as well from my experience for figures like Machida in the game and when they come here and fight. So yeah, I think it'd be good for Machida as well, to get over here and kind of be in a big atmosphere again. Charlie obviously would love to fight a legend like Machida, and it would be a huge win if he could get it.
Yeah, let's do it. And also, I tweeted last night, could we see maybe Fabian Edwards fighting the winner of Gegard Mousasi against Johnny Eblin, which is coming up? And Scott Coker replied with the kind of the tinky face emoji and I said for Dublin as well. So maybe we could be seeing a middleweight title fight.
The what face?
The tinky face. You're thinking.
Tinky?
Yeah, you're like.
Oh, thinking. Okay. 33 and a third.
33 and what's that? 33 and a third? What's that about? Is that an Irish accent? Give it go.
Yeah, 33 and a third.
Did you hear my great impressions the other day? Actually, on the preview show, I did.
Yeah, I did.
Gollum and have you any good impressions? Any impressions for us?
Oh no, I'm absolutely diabolical at impressions.
Go on, give us
my impressions. Like if I try to do like an Australian one, it bleeds into like a South African slash. It just bleeds into all sorts of different.
You have a good Northern Ireland impression, actually, don't you?
I wouldn't start your car too early in the morning. You heard me.
That's perfect. I remember. I think when you hear like an Northern
A guy
Irish
I know
person-
actually said that to a taxi man before while drunk years ago.
I remember.
Like I wouldn't touch a car to it in the morning. Like if he starts it in the afternoon, it'd be grand. Like I don't know.
I remember one of the lads. I
haven't got a baldy.
I haven't got a baldy. One of the lads I knew at school, I never knew his father was from Northern Ireland, and he showed up one day, and I was working in a bar, and he goes, can I have a, wait, 1 second, can I have a pint of cordial? And I was like, what? A pint of what? Cordial. I was like, what the fuck? And he said cordial. I was like, a pint of cordial. But yeah, look, shout out to all our friends above in Northern Ireland. Fair play to you. Anyway.
Who have I got to kill? I got a pint of Harper around here.
Give us an Australian accent, so go on.
Oh God, no.
Go on. What a
I've done enough. I've insulted enough people. I've made enough people mad with my impressions and my yeah.
Right. We'll obviously talk about the UFC card in a second here. I'll throw it over to Sean Sheehan to talk about that. Next week's cards. There's a good Eagle FC card actually next week. Jurgen De Castro is fighting Junior Santos in the main event. Hector Lombard is fighting Thiago Silva. What a fucking banger of a fight that could be. Maki Patolo is on the card, and a few more as well. Honey Marks. I've actually already previewed this fight for Sherdog, and I've missed maybe 2 or 3 of these fights that I have just been added to it. So enjoy those, lads. There's actually a very good fight on it, right? Dylan Mantello against Dennis Hughes. They fought before. It's up on UFC Fight Pass. It's a banger of a fight, and they're rematching. So that's when I would tune in for there in that. And in the UFC, they have a fucking 11 fight card, not too bad. And obviously the lads will be previewing it at midnight on Thursday night, probably. Holly Holm, Ketlin Vieira in the main event, Graham. Thoughts on that one? Like, it's a fight that has been talked about for a long time.
Yeah.
I like Ketlin Vieira, but Holly Holm is a tough matchup for the way she fights, isn't she?
Yeah, like when I saw this matchup, immediately what came to mind is this is going to be a boring Holly Holm win, point fighting on the outside, and yeah, I don't see this being a very exciting fight. Hopefully I'm wrong. You know, Holly Holm has obviously some amazing moments in the UFC. That Ronda Rousey knockout is like, you know, a huge historic moment, but a lot of her fights throughout the years before the UFC, even in the UFC, when she's happy just to win a boring decision and to point fight and to win, and I think she probably will be able to do that here, and she probably will choose to do that, and that'll probably be how the fight goes, and maybe it won't be that exciting, and it might be yet another not so great main event.
Yeah, we've had a few of them lately. The co-main event, though, I think will be a very good one. Santiago Ponzinibbio against Michel Pereira.
If Pereira comes out and bees the wild man that he really is, if he comes out here and tries to kind of be technical, it won't be as exciting. It's probably still be good, but hopefully he comes out and acts like a wild man and puts it on Ponzinibbio at the start. I
think he's kind of left that behind him a little bit, though. I mean, he's not as much that as he used to be, you know.
Yeah, but like if he comes out and tries to just go technical with Ponzinibbio, he's probably going to lose. But if he comes out and, you know, I don't know, throws some fucking Rolling Thunder or fucking something mad.
I agree.
Or tries throwing axe kicks or fucking, I don't know.
I agree. I want to see
something that, like, he does shit that he doesn't even know the technique, and he's just throwing it anyway.
Legend. That's exactly what I want to see about Michel Pereira. Maybe maybe it's not the best thing for Michel Pereira himself and his record, but
in this particular fight, though, it might be.
Yes, I agree. Actually, yeah. I agree, because Ponzinibbio is a very good, like, maybe he's not the best technical stand-up striker nor, but he also, like, he can get hit, and I think Pereira is a better athlete than him, and as you know, styles make fights, is just kind of alluding to their Graham, and I do think as well, I would agree.
And get Ponzinibbio thinking, like, if he gets into a kind of boxing match with him, it could go either way. Like, I'd probably favour Ponzinibbio, but if Pereira can make him think, or even land something big at the start and, you know, get out to a lead and then building confidence and kind of might be able to style on him a little bit. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that's going to be, I'm hoping you're not right and he's left it behind. Sometimes these guys, like Lando Venata, for example, he's just an average kind of not great fighter in the UFC now because he's trying to be like kind of generic. when he came into the UFC, he was a wild man, and that's what made him entertaining. That's what nearly made him beat Tony Ferguson and made him, I can't even remember, was it a turning side kick or a spinning back kick to the face knockout at one stage. And I hope Michael Pereira doesn't go that way.
Michel Pereira, please, Graham, get it right. Michel Pereira.
Sorry.
Anyway, Gelton Almeida is also on this card. Isn't he the lad they were calling like the Brazilian Habib the last time? So he's a big fucking heavyweight wrestler. He's very good. He's fighting Parker Porter, who hits hard, but not great other than that. Chidi Njokuani from the famed Njokuani brothers. He's fighting Duso Totorovic. That should be a bit of a banger on the feet, I would say. Ju Young Park is fighting Eric Anders.
Are they just famed because they're brothers, yeah?
I just think because the name Njokuani is so great. Like, Anthony Njokuani was one of the great names in the history of MMA. And then he's a brother, Chidi Njokuani. Like, I think we've probably known about Chidi Njokuani since before he made his debut. Now he's 28 fights deep. It's like, I love a bit of Chidi. Bit of Chidi Bang Bang, isn't it? Chidi Bang Bang Njokuani, that his name? Yeah. That is the best name in the history of MMA, hands down. Like, it has to be up there. So that's alone is good enough for me. Joseph Holmes against Alan Amadovsky. Fair play to the two of you lads. Congratulations. And there are other fights on as well. Chase Cooper's on the card. Fair play to him. He'll probably lose if the other lad's any use. So, yeah. There's a card.
Yeah, at least they only made it they didn't make like a 15, 16 fight card in fairness. So
they didn't try
there is some positives going into this one.
Try to punish us again, but sure, look. Right, we will. There's one championship card next week as well too. Bushesha is on that one, Graham. Do you know that lad, the big heavyweight jiu-jitsu guy? He is taking on. I actually did a bit of a preview for this for sure, dog. Not a great one, I won't lie. And he's taking on some other heavyweight lad who's actually okay. To be honest, he's a good wrestler, which is probably not a good thing for Bushesha, and he could throw a few kicks and shit as well. So probably not bad, I'd probably be alright. And there's some foot boxing and shit on it. Shinya Aoki is going against Cade Rayatolo, and Gary Tonin is going against Tai Rayatolo in grappling. And those boys are out of the famed Andre Galvao Atos gym. And if you're wondering where I got that information from, thank you very much to Andrew McGann, who told me all that information about those lads. Apparently they're right good. And there's a bit of the Danaher Death Squad versus Atos. I know, I'm just going to stop this shit. Who cares? Anyway, right, let me throw it over to Sean Sheehan here to talk you through the UFC. Thank you very much, Shawnee. Okay, I'm going to run through this one pretty quickly. It was a relatively uneventful card, I suppose you could describe it as. I'll go from top to bottom here. Andrei Petroski beat Nick Maximov. Maximov came in. He said to the commentators that he was the best grappler in the division. And he ended up getting submitted in 76 seconds, choked to sleep with an anaconda choke. So that was about to the bottom and top of it. Petroski called out Gerald Mershart for 3 weeks' time. Probably won't happen, but, not a bad fight. I wouldn't mind seeing that happen. Tatsuro Tiara went out, beat Chris Candelero pretty well over 3 rounds. It cut a funny promo afterwards, goes to 11-0. He's not bad. Virna Jandiroba dominated Angie Hill over 3 rounds. A lot of shy talking this from Angie Hill's teammate Dominic Cruz about control and all the shit. He admitted, I don't think it was in this fight, it was in a future fight, that he doesn't read the rules, and he decides that the tertiary scoring criterion is the one he actually looks at first. So if you ever hear Dominic Cruz talking about a score again, you know that he is making up his own rules and to not listen to him. But Jandiroba, good performance. She almost got Hill in the submission at the very start, or in the very first round, and in the second round as well. And then she 4 minutes of top control, or even more, 5 minutes even of top control with some shots as well, and Hill landed absolutely nothing on her. So it was one of those, was a heel hook in the first and armbar almost in the second. The heel hook was really effective grappling. We talk about effective grappling, just go and watch that heel hook. There was a grimace on Angela Hill's face. She looked in bad trouble, looked like it was almost going to be finished, and that to me is exactly what effective grappling is. So a dominant win there for Virna Jandiroba. Beautiful knockout in for Michael Johnson. He knocked out Alan Patrick with 4 beautiful shots of a combination, the last of which was a left hook. And then there was a few ground strokes as well to eat it up after that. An interesting first round in that one, kind of a back and forth. I thought Johnson won the first round, although it was very close. Both were kind of hurt, but Johnson seemed to be landing the better in that one, and then he came out in the second and looked even better. Didn't want to cut a promo afterwards. Bisping kind of made him, and it was a great finish though, and a good fight there for him. Viviana Araujo then put on a great performance against Andrea Lee. If anyone listened to the preview show, I kind of maybe called the way this fight was going to go early. I thought Andrea Lee would push a pace on Araujo to take away her gas tank, and she did. But the problem is it actually took away Lee's gas tank, and Araujo kept going and looked strong. Her wrestling looked way better than this. I think that's the thing that probably shocked Andrea Lee. I think she probably thought she would have the better wrestling in this one, but she absolutely didn't. Araujo had better wrestling. Andrea Lee knocked her down hard early, and I thought the fight was over. And then Araujo hurt her as well, but she came back, and she kind of took over the fight at one stage. Close first round. 10-8 in the second, I think, and then the third round was Araujo. So yeah, she won that one, and a very good win for her there. Jake Hadley then lost to Alan Nascimento, all 3 rounds on my card anyway. The first round was some great grappling exchanges. Hadley went for a go-go plata at one stage, and I think he kind of gained respect a little bit of Nascimento, but the further the fight went into the second round, and it was on the ground again, and Nascimento knew that Hadley really was struggling to get up. He did get up at one stage, but he was struggling to get up, and he knew that, you know, he was landing a few shots and kind of holding him down there. It was enough because Hadley wasn't really landing anything on the feet and didn't have any submissions of note. He went for the guillotine in the third, and he, after landing 1 or 2 on the feet, and it was a bad mistake because he did land on top for a second. Looked like, okay, maybe it wasn't a mistake, but then Nascimento kind of swept him a little bit, ended up on top, ended up landing some shots, and at the very end of the round ended up landing a good bit of ground and pound, and definitely won that round as well. So look, Jake Hadley coming into the UFC, I know a few people have said, okay, Nascimento's not in the greatest run, or in the UFC especially, but 25 fights into his career now, and Hadley only 8. Not the biggest fan maybe of that matchmaking. It wasn't one I called out beforehand, honestly, but having watched it there, it was like, why you I don't know. We've talked about it so many times with the new fighters coming into the UFC. A lot of them English, maybe just because we're seeing the fighters from Cage Warriors on this side of the world going in there, and the matchmaking seems just ludicrous at times, and this wasn't ludicrous, no, but this was another matchmaking piece of evidence that suggests that it's not being thought of maybe as much as it should. And Nascimento goes on, he's 19-6, where's he going? And Jake Hadley just gets a step back in his career that wasn't really needed. Like, if this fight had happened in 2 years' time, if Jake Hadley had won 3 or 4 more fights, would it have gone the same way? Maybe not. Like, will Nascimento be that good in 3 or 4 years? I don't know. It seems a very short-term type of matchmaking, but anyway. Frank Camacho and Manuel Torres put on a great fight for 3.5 minutes, but Camacho, it seemed like throughout the whole thing, was just on the wrong end of all the significant strikes, and Torres was hurting him. Ended up knocking him down. Herb Dean kind of went in and did one of those mercy stoppages, which in this case I was kind of fine with because Camacho was getting hurt throughout the fight. And it was one of those ones where he was open to get another shot, and Herb stopping that is fine by me, because you have to look at what came before as well, and you have to look at the damage that was taken, and Camacho certainly did it. Torres, I think, is a good fighter and definitely want to go for going forward 13-2 now. Kagan and Amanda Hebas put on a pretty good fight. Hebas came out at a pace, took Kagan down, but didn't do much on top, landed some strikes. And then the second and third were similar. She took her down in the second as well, but Kagan had the better of it, maybe standing up. I think the judges, look, it was one of these fights, it's a Kagan fight. The judges can be anywhere and everywhere, and I think they were, but Kagan landed the better stuff, and she ended up winning. A split decision. It was a close fight. I thought all 3 rounds were very close. I think you can see from the judge's point of view any round going anyway, honestly, in that one. But yeah, it was a good fight. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, it was a Kagan fight. No, well, to be fair, it wasn't a normal Kagan by decision fight, although she did win by decision. But it was a good fight, and one you should even go back and watch. I think it was that good, so very good. Fight of the night then for me, Davy Grant against Louis Smolka. Well, maybe it wasn't. Well, it probably was fight of the night, actually. Let me look down through it. Is there anything better? Patrick and Johnson might have been better. Yeah, but it was very good. David Grant came out and he was just piecing Louis Smolka up. Close to a 10-8 in the first round, I thought, but not quite. And in the second round I remember thinking at one stage, I was like, well, if this turns into kind of, not necessarily a battle of attrition, but a battle of who has the better chin and who can take more shots, even from a certain point to the next point, I was like, Louis Smolka is going to win that, because Louis Smolka taking shot after shot after shot and nothing was shown. And then Davey started taking maybe 3 or 4 shots and it was showing in his face and he was looking tired. And I thought Smolka won the second after Davey won the first, but Davey came out quick in the third, landed 2 or 3 leg kicks and it buckled the knee of Louis Smolka and Davey ended up knocking him out. It was, I see there's TKO KO here. This was a KO. This was a coffin nail KO. He knocked him out with a big hammer fist on the ground after Smolka had gone down. But another fantastic fight. A great display from Davey Grant for the first round anyway, and into the second round. Louis Smolka, unbelievable cardio, unbelievable heart, unbelievable chin. But in the end, it was just the better fighter won it. That was simple as that in the end. I thought I thought Davey would win, and I thought he would actually win by decision. I wasn't too far away, honestly. And a lot of that was to do with Smolka's durability, and he showed a lot of durability. But the problem was, there wasn't much coming back, and that's not good enough at this level against someone like Davey Grant. The co-main event then, Ion Cutelaba does Ion Cutelaba things. There's a fucking aeroplane going on. Can you hear that? It's like there's an aeroplane fucking crashing outside, lads. What the fuck? I hope you can hear that in the microphone. It's like the loudest aeroplane I've ever heard in my life. Going right outside my window at fucking 6 o'clock in the morning here. Where are you coming from, lads? Anyway, what was I talking about? Ion Cutelaba. Yeah. Bizarre sort of fight, because Cutelaba, if you watched a couple of his recent fights, he has wrestled a lot more. And he got on top of Span a couple of times here, and he tried to stand up like most of the times. I'm like, you're on top of Span, okay, and in the end, Span ended up winning by submission, but he's not exactly fucking Vinny Magalhaes on the ground or anything like that. You can stay on top of him for a while, land some ground and pound from the guard, and if he goes for a submission or something, just get up. Like, I didn't think it was in that bad of a position, but he kept getting up, and then when he did, Span was kind of kicking him off, coming in with big shots, and landed a couple of them, and I thought he actually hurt him. He hurt him at the very start with a right hand, and Cutelaba came through it well, maybe not hurt him, but connected. And then he hit him again later in the fight, but Cutelaba kind of, got caught in one of those high elbow guillotines. Span pulled it to the ground, got into the mounted guillotine, and Cutelaba tapped. And I think this has a lot to do with Cutelaba getting beat on the feet. Then he got the fight to the ground, where I thought he would have been a little bit superior in terms of the striking on the ground anyway, and he just continued to try to give it up, and it was bizarre. So he'd nowhere to kind of go, and then he kind of panicked in the end, ended up getting caught in the guillotine. But a good guillotine, a very good submission finish for Ryan Spann. The only thing I would say is Spann held onto the guillotine after about 10 taps, and after Herb Dean coming in as well, so that was a bit bizarre. I haven't seen one of them in a while, but that wasn't great for me. I didn't like that. So yeah, that was the co-main event. And then in the main event, another bizarre fight. Jan Blachowicz got his eye cut badly in the first round. Very even, very close first round. I thought Rakic was doing well. He was doing well in the second as well. Got a few takedowns, got on top. But a very good fight, a very good technical fight on the ground and standing up as well. Rakic, I thought, was doing very, very well. And then it went into the third round. Jan Blachowicz threw a leg kick to the left leg of Rakic. And then he stepped back on the right leg. And as he stepped back on the right leg, the MCL, I believe, is it? Maybe, I don't know. I'll have to get onto one of my physio friends and talk about it. But the ligament at the outside of the right knee just snapped, and you can see it on the video. It just snapped, and he went back down, fell down, and the referee had to call it, and that was that. It was working out to be a very good fight. Rakic was doing well. Blachowicz, when he got on the feet, he was landing, but Rakic got on top for a good while and landed some good shots on top when he was able to get there, and it was turning out into one of those good back and forth even fights that I think was by no means won by either guy at that stage. So unfortunate the way it ended that way, but Rakic did his knee and he couldn't have kept going. There was no way, and Blachowicz gets the win and could get a title shot against whoever wins coming up here in a couple of weeks. All right, lads, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you all for listening to the podcast. If you're not on Patreon, please get on Patreon. It'd be great. It's only $5 a month. I think it comes to like $6.20 or something with tax and all that shit. So literally the price of a pint in the fucking Gibson above. A month now, lads. How many days are in a month? 30 days for £6. What's that? Not a lot anyway. I'm not good at maths. It's like 20 cents a day. There's like 5 podcasts a week or something like that. Oh, we have a new feature as well coming. Next Friday, we actually have a new feature. Well, I just say it. I think I will, because I didn't have to actually do it. So we're doing like a bet of the week from all the SevereMMA crew. As many of them that's in it in anyway. And I'm going to post it every Friday. So it'll just be like a written piece. Sean Jean's bet of the week is this. Andy Stevenson's bet of the week is this. Graham's bet of the week is this. And every Friday it'll go up and I'll post it there. So that's a new thing for Patreon only. So yeah, look forward to that there. Patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast. Thank you to everybody for listening. My name is Sean Sheehan. For Graham McDonald as well. I'll see you all again soon.